Hey guys, welcome to the second portion of these notes where we write the equation in vertex form given the vertex and a point. So in the previous video, I talked about how we go from vertex form to standard form, and then I talk about how we go from standard form to vertex form. So let's go ahead and talk about just if we have to write an equation in vertex form given the vertex and a point. Okay, so let's remind ourselves what vertex form is. So vertex form is y equals a parentheses x minus h parentheses squared plus k. Remember, the vertex is denoted by the letters HK. Okay, so HK is our vertex. All right, so let's look at number 1 here. What did they give us? Well, they gave us a vertex and then a point on that quadratic. So let's just go talk about what kind of information they actually gave me here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up so I know exactly what the problem is, because I don't want to have to switch back and forth between notability and this. Okay, so the vertex they gave us was -1, positive 2. Okay, they gave us a vertex, and then they gave us a point. They gave us 1, -6. Okay, so here's what they've given me. They give me the vertex and a random point. The goal is they want us to write an equation that has a vertex at the red point and it goes through the blue point. So we have to write an equation doing that. Well, how do we do that? Well, if we want it in vertex form, then what form do you think we're going to start in? Vertex form. So I'm going to go ahead and copy down the vertex form equation here. A parentheses x minus h parentheses squared plus k. Okay, now it is super important that you pay attention on this page because this page is not super obvious on what to do. So it's really important that you practice this and do the homework for this. Okay, because you will not get better if you do not practice. Okay, well, what did they give me? They gave me the vertex. Well, the vertex is represented by what two letters? H and K. All right? And then a normal point. What is a normal point represented by? What two letters? X and Y. So they gave me an H and a K, an X and Y. So if I'm looking at my vertex form here, they gave me every single letter except for which one? They didn't give me A, right? I don't even know what A is. So I have to go and find A before I can even do vertex form, right? Because if I were to write this equation out, right, if I were to write out vertex form, all I have is the vertex. So I have A parentheses X plus 1 squared plus 2. So what have I done? I've plugged in my vertex right here. And remember, your H is always opposite sign. So this is all I have. I'm missing the A, so I have to go and find it. Okay, so that's our task here. So that's what we're going to go do. Okay, let's plug in what we know. Well, do we know the Y value? Yeah, it's -6. We're going to plug that in. Equals, do I plug in anything for A? No, because I don't know it. If I don't know it, then I'm using all of this information they're giving me to find A. Parentheses, do I know an X value? Yeah, I know that there's a 1 for my X. And then I have H next. Well, H here is -1, but when I plug it in, it's going to be +1. Parentheses squared. And then what's my K going to be? Well, that's going to be +2. It's exactly what it is when I have K here, +2. So now I have this. So now I'm going to simplify this. I'm going to solve for A. The first thing I'm going to do to solve for A is I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Remember, this is your equation, right? So you're separating your sides. That goes away. So I have -8 equals A parentheses 1 plus 1 squared. Well, what's 1 plus 1? 2. 2. So parentheses, inside I have a 2. I can simplify that. Okay, well, what's 2 squared? Well, 2 squared is 4, right? So this is 4A. So if you wanted to write it, it would be like A4, but that looks kind of funny, right? 2 squared is 4, but it looks funny, so I'm going to write 4A. Well, how do I get A by itself? I'm going to divide both sides by 4, and A equals -2. Is this my answer? No, right? So back when we did vertex form here, I was given a standard form and I found the vertex. Once I found that vertex, what did I do? Well, I plugged in the vertex, but I also had to plug in the A as well. So right now, we have Y equals A parentheses X minus H squared plus K. Okay, well now I have y equals, do I know the a this time? Yes, it's -2. And then I have parentheses x, what's my h? Well, that's +1. Parentheses squared, and then my k is +2. Okay, so where did I get all this information from, right? They wanted me to write an equation in vertex form. So in order to do that, I need a vertex, but I also need my a value. Remember, every equation is always going to end up with an x and a y. So you should never plug in anything for x and y for your final equation, okay? So I plug in my h and my k, my vertex, but I have to find my a as well. Because they did not give me my a value, I had to go solve for it. So that's why we did all of this work, just to find a. And then once we found a, we plugged it in. So that is our answer. That is our vertex form. So let's double check to see if that goes through our points. So remember, it has a vertex here, and this is the point. So let's check in Desmos to see if that actually works out. So again, the red point was the vertex they gave us. The blue is the random point that we had. And we made it the equation y equals 2. Was it 2 or -2? It was -2, sorry. -2, parentheses x plus 1, parentheses squared, plus 2. Does the green parabola go through the red vertex and the blue point? Yeah. So what we did was we took the vertex and we used the point to make an equation from it. So let's review one more time. Where did the blue parts come from? Well, that came from the vertex. They gave us that. Where did the purple come from? Well, I had to find that, right? They didn't give me a, so I had to find the a. So let's go ahead and write our steps before we do number 2. The first step here is you're going to plug in all your information into y equals a, parentheses x minus h squared plus k. You plug it all into vertex form, okay? That's the first thing we did, was we wrote down vertex form and we plugged in all of the information they gave us. After we plugged that all in, we solved for a. We wanted to solve for a. And then once we got a, then what did we do? Well, we took our vertex form and we plugged in a, h, and k. We don't plug anything in for x and y. The only time we plug in an x and y is if we're using it to help us solve something, but it's never going to be in our final equation. So the last thing after we solve for a is we plug in a, h, and k into vertex form. Okay, so let's start. Number 2, you're going to plug in all the information that you know. So the first thing is, well, I know that I need to plug it into and make it vertex form. Okay, I want to go to vertex form. Okay, well, if it's in vertex form, let's go ahead and identify what we got. Remember, the vertex is denoted by hk, and the point, a regular point, is xy. Okay, now we're going to plug in the information we know. Y is going to be -2 equals, do we plug in anything for a? No, because that's what we're solving for. We don't know what a is. Parentheses, the x is going to be +4. Well, what's our h going to be here? -2. Okay, squared plus k. Well, what is our k here? It's -4. So I plugged in all of the information I know, and all I should have left is the a because I need to solve for it and find it. Okay. So now I'm going to solve for a. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line down the middle of my equation to help me out here. All right. First step is you want to get a by itself. So I'm going to get rid of this random 4, and I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Remember, you have the line, so those are your sides, okay? So -4 plus 4 cancels. -2 plus 4 is +2. And we have a, parentheses, 4 minus 2 squared. Okay, so I haven't done anything there yet. Well, in my parentheses, I can simplify that. What is 4 minus 2? It's just 2. So I'm simplifying this, and I get that squared. Well, what's 2 squared? It's 4. Now, you don't want to write a4 because that looks funny, so we're going to write 4a. Now, how do I get a by itself? What's my last step? Divide both sides by 4. And I get a equals 1/2. So a equals 1/2. Is this my answer? No, but it's part of my answer, right? So once I solve for a, I need to plug in a, h, and k into vertex form. Remember, vertex form, we wrote it over there. A, parentheses, x minus h, parentheses squared, plus k. Plug in your a, h, and k. So we start. Y equals, what's our a? 1/2. Okay? Sometimes it will be a fraction. It is what it is. Parentheses, x, because you don't want to plug in anything for x and y, right? You want to keep those there. Well, what's our h going to be? -2, because that's coming from our vertex, squared plus k. Well, what's our k? -4. That is in vertex form. The vertex is 2, -4, and it's going to go through the point 4, -2. Now, if I wanted to check, I can plot this, this, and this all into Desmos and see if the equation hits both of those points. And it should. Again, this page is probably the most difficult out of the 3 that we've done. So if you have any questions, just please feel free to come in for tutoring.